Welcome to another episode of Experts of Very Little. We've got a little different thing here tonight. We've got two guys that are out and can't be in, so it's just going to be me and a special guest tonight. So a little different. So join in and let's have some fun.
Or 5 years, I thought we were talking about the product that we put on the field this year that's looked like absolute trash for 5 years.
So carry on. Enjoy your regular season win. Go ahead and hang that banner
They didn't have that. You really think behaviors would get better without sports? You're out of your mind. They didn't have that.
No.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Experts of Very Little. I'm going to bring in our guest host here. And who do we have tonight? We've got Mr. Unathletic himself.
How's it going?
Justin. He's
Get that fixed.
kind enough to join in tonight and trying to fill some big shoes that we've got left open tonight. So I'm just going to touch base on some things. It's going to be a little bit different. We're going to really hammer in on some NFL free agency and signings, trades, everything that's going on right now. And in that aspect, it's been kind of crazy the last couple of days, ain't it?
Yeah, it has. Lots to talk about. A lot of surprises.
Surprised, I would say, is an understatement. But hey, what can you do? Got to have a little drama in mixed in with the fun. So, but before we get into that, we're gonna kind of kick it off with a little bit of World Baseball Classic. Obviously, last night was a little bit of a heartbreaker for Team USA. That was, I believe, their first loss.
Yeah.
In the World Baseball Classic. So I think they got down 8-0, and there for a while it looked like the offense was a little anemic. They couldn't put together any offense. They couldn't generate any runs. They couldn't get it going.
You come off a game against Mexico where they've not been able to get past Mexico the past few times. And there's been talk about whether or not Team USA understood the importance of the game last night and whether they thought they had already clinched moving on. And whether they did or not, it kind of looked like it when you watched the game. It was very flat, and
Yeah.
definitely a different looking team than we saw the day before against Mexico. And I watched that interview with DeRosa earlier, and he said he misspoke in his podcast whether he thought that USA was moving on already. And I kind of feel like watching a game.
Well, and it's one of those things where he got blasted, absolutely blasted.
Yeah.
People were saying that, maybe he's the wrong guy for that, for that gig, because he just simply didn't understand how it worked. And I mean, he got raked over the coals, and good for him for coming out and saying, hey guys, I messed up. I said it wrong, my bad. But, I would say up to that point, nobody had a problem with him, and really he had done a good job. But when you have the roster that Team USA has, how much work does does he really have?
Yeah,
On
that's
paper.
it's like you compare it to Phil Jackson coaching the Bulls or the Lake Show, but uh, who knew Italy had baseball players like that? I mean,
Well, I mean, hey, listen.
I don't want to hear no Cags.
No,
No,
Cags absolutely destroying the ball right now. Him and Pasquantino, maybe a little bit of a what you
oh
might
my gosh,
see
here we go.
this year in Kansas City.
I don't know, John. I mean, everybody thought that last year in spring training from Cags, and I'm not sure
Hey,
what that.
you look at what the kid does, and the kid rakes, absolutely rakes. But
Just not at
obviously,
the MLB level.
I mean, he started a little slow. I'm not. I'll give you that. But obviously, last night with a little bit of heartbreak for Team USA losing,
Yeah.
and I mean, they had to have some help, and Team Italy they did the work because
Hey,
Team USA is advancing.
and
Unfortunately
not
for
only did the work,
Mexico.
I think they won like 9-1.
Yeah, I think we also saw the first 3-run home run game in World Baseball Classic history. If I
Hold up, the first three,
3-run home run game,
first
the
three.
3 home run game. Oh yeah, I'm
Oh,
gonna pull
okay.
Mark Drosa. I misspoke right there. Okay, the
Yeah,
first 3 home
I
run
think so.
game.
I watched my boy PCA do it last night. Now,
No, Pasquantino. I don't know if you saw, but he carried the load today with 3 home runs.
yeah,
Absolutely, just obliterating the ball.
yeah, he
But
did. He did. Thank goodness, because that opened the door for Team USA. And
yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the bracket, but looks like we get Canada and
I haven't seen it yet. Obviously I'm stuck up here at work.
yeah,
Had a late night, but technical difficulties at the house with my desktop and my Wi-Fi getting this thing to connect and be dependable. So I'm still up here. So I finished up my late night at work and started working on this, and that's when I called you to join in. So
yeah.
I
No, it
I
looks like
literally pulled this graphic just about 10 minutes before we hopped on.
so. It looks like we'll get Canada. Obviously, a single elimination here on out, and then we'll play the winner. I say we, assuming, but the winner of that game will play the winner of Korea and the Dominican Republic, which I think that'll be a fun game. And then
Absolutely.
on the other side, you got Puerto Rico against Italy. I think that is now sneaky because Italy not only beat USA, but came out and beat Mexico
Yeah.
today handedly. So that'll be fun. And then you got Venezuela against Japan.
Yeah.
So I mean
So
that side of the bracket is pretty stacked.
yeah,
Man,
I'm glad they sent Italy that way and put us on the other
well,
side.
Italy, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Japan. I mean,
Yeah,
I,
it's crazy because I was reading some memes earlier, people posting on social media, and that who knew Italy had enough guys that play baseball to put a team
I,
together, let alone come out and play like this.
I had no idea. I kept watching the
Uh,
game last night, and I was like, "Hey, it's only the fifth inning. It's only the sixth inning." Well, then PCA hits a 3-run bomb, and I think I even text you guys is like, "All right, here's the comeback,"
yeah,
and then he ends up hitting another solo in the eighth or ninth inning, I believe. But anyways, I just kept waiting for it, and Judge gets up, he doesn't do anything, and it's just flat and flat and flat. I was like, "My gosh!"
yeah, it
But
was. I was thinking, you got Judge and Gunnar Henderson and all these guys. I'm
and
thinking
he
at
did
some
end up
point
going ball.
somebody's going to do something, and then it ended up being a pinch hit from some bum called PCA.
Yeah.
Who
Well,
would have thought it?
Gunnar Henderson got it started. I think he was the one to hit the solo. Where he's down 8
Yeah,
nothing. He made it 8-1, and the PCA goes 8-4. But you know, if PCA is a bum to come in and hit 2 home runs at World Baseball Classic, I'll take that bum any day. So,
Well,
but yeah, no, it was exciting. And I'm glad that, like I said, that Italy came out and took care of business today, and Team USA can move on, and we keep watching that deal.
Yeah, no, I'm hoping that that they can continue doing what they're doing, and keep advancing because it's fun. We've got, well, I mean, what, 15 days till opening day. Regular season starts, so it'll just kind of get us through until that happens.
Yeah.
So I'm ready. I can't wait. But enough of the World Baseball Classic. How about this guy right here? I would have never thought that we'd be talking about another game like this. Bam Adebayo with 83 points against the Wizards.
So go ahead and tell me what bothers you the most about this deal.
Well, for one, for the most part, they were up 30 points. He shouldn't have been in the game. But two, he shot like 43 or 45 free throws, and he only made 20 of them. So, I mean, obviously, growing up, how big of a Kobe fan I am. His 81-point game was a lot more impressive than this 83. And
Yeah,
I'm only going to say that because he only shot 20 free throws that game. 20. He shot 20 free throws and made 18 of them. So he was 18 of 20 from the free throw line. Bam shot like 50%. Well, actually less than 50% from the free throw line, only making 20 of them. I don't know. Put an asterisk by it. I mean, congratulations. Mr. 83 had to take a photo with a piece of paper with 83, kind of like Wilt did with 100, on that game. That did it happen or did it not? Nobody knows, but they say there's video of it somewhere. But yeah, Bam Adebayo, 83 points. Put an asterisk by it, but good job, man. That's crazy.
Well, a couple things is the NBA recognizes Wilt's record as 100 points. So I'm assuming that it happened, and if they recognize it, it's the record and it is what it is. Secondly, it's awkward watching some of the highlights of the fourth quarter of how they were forcing the ball and his forcing of shots at an extremely ridiculous level. But all that being said, and I've heard so many people say, man, I think even Phil Jackson came out and said some records aren't meant to be broken. Well, Phil, I'm sorry, but Kobe doesn't own a record. And no disrespect to, rest in peace and all that good stuff, but Kobe doesn't have a record. So the record is still 100. He didn't pass anybody. It's who scored the most points in the game. It is still Wilt Chamberlain.
Absolutely.
And it will forever be Wilt Chamberlain. So I didn't understand the whole all the Kobe talk. Yeah, he had more points than Kobe, but he still didn't pass him. It's not a record.
No, but I think, and I think the biggest part of it was the most points scored in a game in the most modern time. In
the modern era.
Yeah,
sure.
And Kobe being Kobe, I mean, obviously, RIP to the Black Mamba. I mean, the guy is one of the greatest to ever do it. I don't think that most of the people really wanted to see, and I'm not taking anything away from Bam because he's a good athlete and obviously he's an NBA player that has been really successful. But I mean, can you compare the two? Or are you going to say that he's on the the same level? No. So I think that most of them have an issue with that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it does nothing for the team. They beat a Wizards team that's not any good. Congrats, enjoy it. You know, it's something we won't see again for a long time. But it wasn't efficient. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't dominant by any means. You know, it wasn't one of those things where it's like, man, he got hot. He didn't put on a show. And at the end of the day, other than the number 83, it wasn't a game that excited anybody.
No, and I mean it. Like I said, it's hard for me. Obviously, being a Kobe fan, it's like, man, why? You know, I get it. Like you said, it's not a record. He didn't surpass Kobe and take him off of, you know, the mantle or anything. But you know, it's like that's going to be the highlight of his career. I scored more points in a single game than Kobe did. Okay, cool.
Yeah, which does what? Didn't pay you nothing.
No.
I mean,
no.
We'll move.
But I mean, like I said, I mean, congrats to him. I mean, great game. I didn't think that I was ever going to see an 80-point game again. And you know, I mean, I watched the 81-point game versus the Raptors. I didn't tune in a second of this game, so you know, just kind of caught the highlights and everything. You know, scrolling through TikTok and seeing stuff that's been posted. But like you said, it was crazy just how they were forcing the ball, just trying to get pad the stats. I mean, it was. I'm sure it was fun to watch there on the court as a teammate. You know, I'm sure it was fun to see him, you know, showing out like that. But never seen anything. Any one team force the ball to one guy since Kobe's last game when they were begging him.
Yeah, I was going to say since Kobe's retirement game. Yeah.
But a little different. Dude was basically he was on flat tires and missing a wheel and scored 60. So, you know, dude was very, I mean, he's one of the greatest. But I could talk about Kobe and the NBA and all this stuff all night long, but we're going to dive into a little bit of the excitement that's been going on the last couple of days in the NFL, and let's start it off with this one. I'm gonna let you have your moment.
Man, this is big, man, and it's big for different reasons. And I know it's not the Mike Evans of old, and so I'm trying to temper expectations just a little bit. But two things happens here is Mike Evans has never played for a play caller, is creative, that's so good at getting people in space like Kyle Shanahan. And secondly, Kyle Shanahan has not had a Mike Evans, especially in San Francisco. So, I mean, obviously he had some guys when he was in Atlanta as the OC. I mean, Julio and them. But you're not going to see 1,000 yards from Mike Evans. I think those days are past him. But getting and creating space, I think he could score 15 touchdowns for the 49ers.
Right.
And I think he's going to be an efficient 800 yards, you know. And if he could stay healthy, maybe he could flirt with it. But getting in space, and as soon as Kittle's healthy, just being able to have that threat with Kyle Shanahan, I think this is the consistent receiver that we've needed, the veteran presence we've needed on that offense for a long time. You know, since we've not had that for a while. I mean, we relied on Debo and Ayuk for the past 3 or 4 years, and they were both young. I mean, they were still kids.
Yep.
So, you know, it's been a long time since we've had that kind of guy. So I'm excited about it. I think it's a perfect match for Mike, and I think it's a perfect match for the Niners. And, you know, at the end of the day, that offense got a little scarier today because that's the one thing they lacked last year was that go-to receiver all year long.
Oh, absolutely. You know, and I'll say this, you know, I was honed in and really watching to see who was going to sign this guy because, I mean, obviously in the last 10, 11 years since he's been in the NFL, he's been one of the best wide receivers. And so
most consistent for sure.
absolutely. And my thing is with him is I still think he's got some gas left in the tank. And, you know, I was hoping that he stayed in Tampa just because it'd been cool to see him stay there his entire career. But at the same time, I was hoping that he signed elsewhere just so that, for the excitement, just to see, what does he have,
Yeah.
maybe he can go get a ring. But now, I mean, I know that's not going to happen now that he signed with San Fran, but at least he'll have fun playing anyway. It's one of those things where this guy's been one of the most well-liked guys in the NFL for years, and he just continues to produce and continues to just put up the stats and I don't think his entire career in the NFL you've heard a teammate come out and say anything bad about the guy. I don't think you've heard anybody come out and say, he's not a good team player. He's cancerous in the locker room. No, I mean he's a stand-up guy and a great veteran. And from what I could tell, after just this past season, taking Egbuka under his wings and kind of helping him and showing him the ropes.
Yeah.
And a lot of the young receivers they've had. I mean, he did the same with Godwin for years. It's been a good career in Tampa. I hate to see it end, but I'm excited to see what this chapter is going to bring. More so for him than the Niners, of course.
Well, yeah, I mean, even Jerry Rice had to leave eventually, man.
Yeah. But
I'm excited for it.
It's a good signing for the 49ers. Now, obviously, what do they have? Ricky Pearsall. Obviously, they have Kittle. Who else do they have at the wide receiver spot?
Right, Demarcus Robinson.
They still have Demarcus Robinson. Well, I was hoping that you get me with
Demarcus Robinson.
A solid name, not some bum. But
it's one of those where Jennings. So
yeah, there's too much smoke around Jennings' name and a handful of teams. I don't see him coming back, but who knows? Maybe they throw the bag.
No, I don't. I think he was great. When he was the third and Juwan and he was making a name for himself.
Yeah.
But the last 2 years, I mean, he kind of took on that prima donna. I wanted more money before he even did any more on the field, and I've been sick of that. I mean, started it 3 or 4 years ago when he demanded the trade, took all stuff off Instagram. Then he got the contract, and then I did the same thing. Then he got the contract. Well, and then plays the year. Then Debo requests a trade. Get him out of here. You don't want to be here. Move on. My way of thinking on all that. And then Juwan Jennings did the same thing last year. And we have catered to these guys. Get them gone. I love third and Juwan, and he was great when he was coming up and making those plays. But he's not worth $25 million a year, and he's going to get close to that. So we'll just move on.
Yeah. No, I think it is time for him to go. It's one of those things, like you said, early on in his career when he was trying to prove himself and make a name for himself, it was fine. It was fun to watch because, like you said, he had the third and Juwan thing going on. But now he wants to be the guy, get him the football and
he had his chance this year.
No, he did. He definitely did. They didn't have anybody else.
He had his chance, and I don't feel like he did it.
No.
Yeah.
No, but
we can't keep
let's dive into a little bit of the drama
disappearance.
What in the world is going on in Baltimore?
Man, I think it's all part of the plan, bro.
Listen,
I mean,
I smell something fishy because here's the thing. Okay, so I get it, right?
More than fish.
You know, I don't know if reports got out that Dallas, because I mean, reports have stated that Dallas and Baltimore basically had a gentleman's agreement on a trade for Max Crosby. 2026 first round pick, 27 second round pick, and Oso Digizula. And it sounds like after that come out, that's when Baltimore said, "Hey, hold on, we'll give you 1 second. If you're going to take that, I'll give you 2 firsts right now." And of course, obviously, Las Vegas jumped on it. They said, "Okay, yeah, we wanted 2 firsts to begin with, so here you go." Now, just reading into the reports and during the trade talks, it sounds like Las Vegas and everybody was very, very, very honest about Crosby and his knee. Obviously, everybody knows he just had knee surgery, and it wasn't nothing. It wasn't nothing major. It was a meniscus. It wasn't a shaving. It wasn't any of that. It was a meniscus repair, which I can attest. Meniscus repairs are horrible because you can't put weight on it. You can't bend it. You can't walk on it. Now, I had mine back in 2010, 2011, so things may have changed. But back then when I had mine, I was in a brace that I couldn't bend and I couldn't put any pressure on that leg for 6 weeks because that meniscus obviously is
physical shape here.
Do what?
A little bit different physical shape here too.
100%, but it's still the same. I mean, same surgery. Yeah, I might be carrying a little different body type, but you can't. I mean, you've got to let those stitches and that deal heal, and so obviously walking on it just puts pressure on it. So they didn't want you to walk on it, bend it, no pressure, no nothing. So they told everybody he was going to be out till June or July. He wasn't going to be 100%. So they agreed to the trade knowing the surgery, the info. It sounds like the surgeon and everybody was involved, all the reports and everything was up front. And then yesterday happened.
Yeah.
They bring him to Baltimore for the physical, which everybody knew he wasn't going to pass.
Yeah.
And I think it was. I think Crosby released a statement or made a comment that was released by somebody. I was reading it earlier. I've been on X, every chance I get, just looking for updates and whatnot. But they said that while he was in Baltimore all day yesterday at the facilities doing his meeting everybody and doing his physical and whatnot, that it just didn't seem right. Something felt off, but that's because the GM was in there trying to negotiate and get Trey Hendrickson while he was there.
I think this was going on for some time. And I think the longer the Hendrickson stayed unsigned, they thought, man, did we jump the gun here? Because, we can get out of this deal, get our 2 ones back, and still get an elite pass rusher. And I know they're saying now, hey, we were prepared to sign Hendrickson and Max Crosby. And listen, you're not prepared to pay that kind of money for defensive end. You're not that. But
not at all.
I mean, but how smart is that though? You take and you put all this together and say, hey, we're gonna trade Max Crosby. We're gonna lock him up, take him off the market, trade for Max Crosby, and then we're gonna see how this plays out because we're gonna have that. I mean, I just see this conversation going on. It's like we're gonna have that clause with the physical. That way, if we can't get Hendrickson signed, well, then we have this Max Crosby plan B, well, then Hendrickson they know they're going to get Hendrickson signed. So they bring him in, they do the physical, they get out of that, get their ones back. And now a couple of things was like you created that buzz around Baltimore for a minute. And whether or not it's why some of these guys signed, I don't know. I mean, they didn't make a ton of signings, but you created a buzz around Baltimore. Well, then you send him back. The Raiders have since signed a slew of people and spent quite a bit of money.
Yeah, they have.
And now Max Crosby is back on their books, and they're like, oh no. And now you've got the news out about, which, like you said, they've been completely honest. I think they said June or July is when they expected him to be able to pass a physical.
Yeah.
And so now our team's going to shy away from making that trade. Did they find something? You know, I've read some stuff about maybe they found something in the results that show more long-term damage than what was expected. But I don't see that. It's not like
I will say this, though, because what they're worried about is the same thing that everybody else is worried about when you have a meniscus injury. But the problem is, again, like their concerns are more so with a meniscus shaving than a repair. Because, you know, like I said, back when I had my surgery, the surgeon was going to just go in and shave it out and cut a lot of it out from the get-go. That was the original plan. Well, then when they got in there, he was, you know, the biggest problem is his blood supply. But, you know, he thought, oh, well, okay, his looks healthy and looks like it's got great blood supply. I think that I can go ahead and just repair it, not shave it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Well, unfortunately, I was out of work for, I think it was like 11 months because they ended up having to go and shave it later on and cut half of it out. But what they're concerned about is the side effects from meniscus shavings and your knee being bone to bone, because you can cause stress fractures. You can, you know, there's several different things, arthritis, and obviously that's going to happen with any surgery for the most part. They say you have surgery, you're going to have arthritis in there before, you know, when you get older, blah, blah, whatever. But their concerns are more so with the shavings than, you know, the side effects of the shaving than the repair, because his meniscus is still there. It's still intact. So I think, and this is more just a ploy and like you said, just an easy way out of this trade. Because I think, obviously you and I being in the car business, we deal with it every now and then, and that's buyer's remorse, man. You know, that people think, oh man, I paid too much for this, or I didn't get enough for mine, or whatever. And they're having the same thoughts. Dang, I just gave up 2 years of first round picks for Max Crosby, which is an elite pass rusher. But my God, now I've got him on the books for X amount of dollars, and I don't have first round pick the next 2 years. What am I doing?
Yep.
And then, like you said, the longer Hendrickson stayed unsigned, the more they were able to kind of, you know, dabble back and forth between the two, and you know, have that communication and see where they would land. And when they realized that signing Hendrickson was actually a real possibility, that's when they started saying, okay, hey, listen, we're gonna catch some flack for this, and we're gonna get raked across the coals, and it's gonna be bad. But what if we go ahead and back out of this trade and we get our 2 first-round draft picks back and we sign Hendrickson, who at the same time has had injury issues and was kind of questionable on the physical side of things because he was out for most of the year this year. I mean, basically all year, I think. So
most of it.
Which one would you take? Hendrickson, who's 31, Max Crosby? I mean, they're about the same age, or pretty close to.
Yeah.
I mean, you're probably gonna get Hendrickson for a little bit cheaper. So that's the only benefit to it. I'm sorry, but if I'm picking between the two, it's Max all day long.
Oh, give me Max Crosby.
100%. And so that's what I'm saying. It's one of those things where I think they got a little bit of cold feet or buyer's remorse, and they wanted to back out, and get the cheaper option and keep their first round picks. Because I think if I remember, they've got a top 15 pick. They might be able to pick up an Akeem Mesidor or another pass rusher to pair with him. So it's kind of crazy. The last couple of days have been nuts. But you mentioned something a minute ago about the amount of players that the Raiders have went and signed.
Oh yeah,
very impressive offseason. If you were to tell me 2 days ago that the Raiders would go out and sign Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker, they would get another pass rusher in Kwity Paye, who is not a big name, but he's a very, very,
very serviceable,
productive, serviceable defensive end that's going to put up some good stats for you. Jalen Naylor, who's a solid, third or fourth receiver.
Solid three guy, yeah.
And then you go out and you give Tyler Lindenbaum $81 million over the next 3 years.
I love it.
Because you're fixing to draft a quarterback.
Yep. I love it.
On top of that, when you sign Malcolm Koonsback, you re-sign him and you re-sign Eric Stokes, which I was hoping Stokes would end up in Dallas. I've liked that guy since he was in Green Bay. But Linderbaum has got to be the smartest signing of them.
Yep.
Because of the Fernando Mendoza pick coming up.
How many times do you see it, man? These guys that go draft what they hope to be a franchise quarterback, and it doesn't pan out because these guys can't protect their quarterback. I mean, I go back a lot of times to David Carr and how they can never keep him off his back, and these guys just don't pan out. And it's not because they're not talented. I mean, you see with Jackson Dart this year, I mean, the Giants, Jackson Dart showed flashes of being a very talented quarterback in this league, and they weren't prepared to protect him. And, they made a couple moves in the offseason to try to do so. So I thought that was an extremely smart signing on their part. I mean, just knowing what they're about to get into, protect their guy. They've got some good pieces on the offense already. And so, man, I thought if I'm Max Crosby, I'm looking at the Raiders and the commitment they've made in this offseason. Now, this was built around moving you.
Yeah.
But I'm going back to the table and I'm saying, hey, guys, I said I'm a Raider for life, and I thought I was going to Baltimore, but I was just playing. Like, let's make this.
It's funny you say that. It's funny you say that.
Ricky, I was high when I said that.
Just a few minutes ago, I got a notification on my phone that Max Crosby has broken the silence on social media.
Oh,
he's back, and he's back to stay. He wants to be. He's said it forever. He wants to be a Raider for life. And it sounds like they've decided to go ahead and honor all the contracts that you see here that's signed, because that was up in question too. Oh man, are they going to be able to keep Max Crosby and still honor these contracts? Which I was hoping Walker or Dean was going to be cut out of that deal so Dallas could go get their linebacker. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, we can't get that lucky because we missed out on Nakobe Dean, which is stupid. And hey, props to the Raiders because they did their research and they knew what they were doing. When they found out that it was between Dallas and the Raiders, they went and signed his ex-running mate and ex-partner, ex-linebacker, buddy, partner in crime from Georgia in Quay Walker. And even though Dallas offered a little more money, he went with familiarity. and he's familiar playing next to Quay Walker. He went with his gut, and he went and played with his old buddy from Georgia, which is smart on the Raiders' part. But I'm sitting here at that point, when all these signings are being done, and then Crosby, you get the report that says, oh, they've backed out. You're going, what in the world is going on?
Yeah.
Which contracts are not going to be honored? Who's going to be heartbroken? And I'm begging for Nakobe Dean to be that guy, and it ended up not being either one of them. So props to the Raiders, man. Like I said, if you were to tell me that this offseason they were going to go and sign these big name guys and Linderbaum, which very, very, very smart, intelligent center who's going to help navigate and be basically the field general with Fernando Mendoza, kind of help get that train rolling. I would have told you were crazy if you told me they were going to do something like this. But I mean, props to them. But it's one of those things here where, again, Trey Hendrickson, this
what
thing
does
here.
this do for Baltimore, though, for real?
Do what?
But what does this move mean for Baltimore?
That no team will ever do another trade.
Well, we'll take the dramatics out of it and take the drama out of it. Forget the Max Crosby thing for a minute. And what does it do for Baltimore? Because they've got some problems. I mean, Baltimore, I think, is going backwards. I mean, I'm not a first off, was not a huge fan of their coach hire to begin with. But then you lose, Linderbaum, you lose Likely, who Andrews has had some health problems, so Likely has been a big part of that offense. They've lost some guys this offseason.
Yep.
You have the questions on whether they're going to be able to re-sign Lamar, get him extended. Derrick Henry's getting older. This team is not they don't scare me. I think they have problems and they have holes. So what does this mean for Baltimore?
That's a good question. Like you said, they've lost a lot. It's one of those things when you sit back and you look at it. Yes, they got, when healthy, one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. But again, when healthy, the last 2 years he's fought injuries. It's not just this year; it's been the last 2 years, and I hate it for him because he was having some good years, and now it's contract time, and I don't think he got paid what he could have, but it's one of those things that they took the cheaper route, the safer route, maybe for them. I don't know how you'd call it the safer route, but it's definitely the cheaper route. But losing Isaiah Likely is a huge blow. One of the most the young athletic tight ends in the league. I have seen their name tossed around in the David Njoku talk, which okay, I like Njoku, but he again can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
They still have questions at wide receiver. You got Zay Flowers, and that's about it. You've got an aging running back in Derrick Henry, who had a really good year last year after starting a little slow. But on the defensive side of things, you got Kyle Hamilton. Okay. They've got some good pieces on the defense side of the ball, but they have a lot of question marks. You asked the question a minute ago, what does this do for Baltimore? To me, the only thing it does for Baltimore, like I said, is it basically puts a stamp on you, and no team is going to want to do a trade with you in the NFL, because the last couple of days there have been a lot of people come out and they're not happy about it.
Yeah. No, and at the end of the day, like I said, I think he's 31 years old. He's got how many 3-4 years left of being that elite pass rusher, and I don't think their window is there in 3 or 4
Mhm.
years. So I'm more on the other side of this signing is, I look at the Bengals. I'm like, man, kind of what Hendrickson signed for. I mean, he didn't get top D. I mean, he didn't get record money for defensive end, and you don't have a defense. You have an all-world offense when everyone's healthy. How can you afford to let a guy like that go? So the whole thing is just a conundrum to me. Like, I can start
Mhm.
with the Bengals. How did you let him go? Then I can go to the Ravens. Is like, how did you not fall through with Max Crosby? I want Crosby over Hendrickson.
Yeah.
But then I say the same thing. What does that do for them? It doesn't. They're not ready today, and they give up 2 ones. It probably didn't make a lot of sense for them anyway. And then to tie up this kind of money in a defensive end doesn't make a ton of sense for me. So I don't love the move. But and like you said, you put a black mark on your reputation when it comes to making moves. So
Yeah. No, it's
I give it a C. I mean, if I'm being a analyst, I would grade it. I give it a C minus. Really.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, it doesn't move the needle. And for me, it does a little bit less than it does you no good. Let's just say that. I mean,
Yeah.
you get an aging pass rusher who um, has a hard time staying healthy, and I mean, if he does, he does. Hey, great. More power to you. Congratulations. But it's tough. It's definitely tough when you're in this situation, because the one thing that I can tell you is you're not going to be able to remove the status when it comes to trading. I'm just telling you, because most of these guys will hold a grudge. Most of the GMs in the front offices, they're not gonna put themselves in that position with the Ravens to ever pull another trade at all.
Yeah.
And so I hate it for them, but hey, what can you do? But
Yep.
I'm gonna move on to this next deal here. Two of the most surprising signings from the most surprising team in Mr. Show, his Carolina Panthers. These two here, obviously, this graphic here has them. The number one overall edge rusher. I don't see that, but the number one overall linebacker in free agency, 100%. And these are two guys that, as a Dallas Cowboy fan, is exactly what I wanted.
Yeah. I
I
think most fan bases could say that.
Well, so, and I say this as a Dallas fan, we need an edge rusher, which we still do, a linebacker, and I mean, we needed safeties and corners. Well, we've attacked the safety position, so we don't. I mean, we handle that. But these are the two positions still left that we absolutely have to fill if we're going to be, competitive. I guess try to make a deep run in the playoffs. But these two players right here, I think, is going to push the Carolina Panthers to the next level.
Well, you look at what this does for the Panthers. You have Derek Brown, Jalen Phillips, then you have Devin Lloyd, and you have J.C. Horn in the secondary. This defense is going to be something to be reckoned with. I mean, they have the talent on paper to produce a top level defense. And we saw bits of Carolina come out of their shell last year. And the question is going to be for them, how much can we produce on offense? And can Bryce Young be that guy? And man, if they can figure out any bit of their offense coming into next season, this Panthers team, we could be talking about the most improved team of the year, and be looking at. I mean, they were almost a playoff team last year.
Well,
right?
they were a playoff team.
They were a playoff team. That's right. They were a playoff team.
Yeah,
and so I love this. I mean, gosh dang, $120 million to Phillips, $45 million to Lloyd. So that tells me that the Panthers believe that they're that close.
yeah.
And I don't think that anybody would argue that this defense is got the potential to be one of the best in the NFL next year.
Oh, 100%. You know, I mean, you mentioned it. You've got, you know, Derek Brown and Jalen Phillips and Devin Lloyd, and you know, you've got the makings of what could be a defense that's going to be probably up in, I mean, top five defense. Now, that is if they can, you know, maybe go out and again hit a couple home runs in the draft well like they have been, continue to draft well like they have been, and maybe, you know, add another player or two. You know, the one thing that I've really liked about the Carolina Panthers is, you know, what they've done so far is they've stayed true, and they're not just going out and they're not signing, you know, all these crazy contracts. They hit two important positions. They're staying young. They didn't go and you know, go and sign all these old guys or mid-tier guys to just fill spots. They went and they signed two guys that could be there for a while.
Yeah.
You know, when you look
all
at
those
it,
guys are in their 20s.
They're young.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to sit here and you know, look at this in 2 to 3 years and potentially be looking at a team that's, now, I mean, maybe getting ahead of myself, but maybe, you know, making a Super Bowl run.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. Obviously, they got to find out if Young's the guy, and he's shown flashes at times. But yeah, they're all in their 20s. You got Pro Bowl level players at every level in the defense, and that's going to cause problems for people. And so, you know, they got to find them a running back. But
they've got one.
No, Rico Dowdle left, man.
Oh, stop. Whenever the year before, Chuba Hubbard did very well.
Chuba who?
Yeah, listen. Now, what I will say is I saw earlier where they signed John, who obviously receiver, played with Bryce Young in Alabama.
Well, don't overlook Kenny Pickett.
It's one, huh? Oh, yeah, Kenny
Pickett.
Yeah, listen.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, no, I saw that John Mechie, though, Alabama guy.
Well, you know, I think their chemistry. Now, I'm not saying John Mechie is going to be, you know, a big guy, you know, in the offense.
The field.
I'm going to get a lot of targets, but if I'm Carolina, I'm going and signing, re-signing Jalen Coker. Jalen Coker is played well. The last couple of years. I mean, they drafted him last year, I believe. So he's in his second year, and you know, I think he's an up and coming wide receiver. Jalen Coker's a must for me. If I'm Carolina, I'm re-signing him. and I'm going to go and I'm either going to draft a wide receiver, or if Kenyon Sadiq is available in round 1, I'm getting me
Yeah,
a tight end.
That's what I was saying. I was going to say I could see them maybe going getting an Njoku or finding that tight end weapon. Somebody put out there, next to my favorite guy. I mean, come on, man. I like dollar bill, man. With Xavier Leggett and help maybe spread the field open a little more. That'd be nice. But I love me some Xavier Leggett, man. He's my favorite clip in football, by the way.
Yeah.
I just grew up drawing a dollar bill, man, y'all.
Hey, listen, he's different. Definitely different. Yeah. But I'm disappointed in what he's been so far.
I am too.
Because I thought that guy was going to be a lot better than what he's done. If they could get unlock the potential in that guy, that's huge for me, because that gives them, that just says they have the guy right there, that they don't need anybody else. But unfortunately, it's not quite happened. So
no, it hasn't.
No, not at all. And that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. When I look at the Panthers, and they definitely hit a home run with McMillan. Obviously, Tetero and McMillan is big time for me, because that's a guy that obviously everybody was talking about him being one of the best, in last year's draft class, and you just never know, right? Until you
was
get
the
him.
best.
But the guy's a stud. The guy's an absolute stud, and for the fact that they actually look to have hit a home run with it, that's even better.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I just think they need that. I think they need that tight end. Stretch the field, take some of the pressure off those wideouts, create space for McMillan, and maybe take a little bit of pressure off of Leggett, and maybe that would help open up his potential a little bit. But I could see them, like I said, taking Sadiq, or like I said, I wouldn't be mad if they jumped in the Njoku sweepstakes and signed him. I think he's a veteran. Gosh dang, you watch the guy, he looks like a Greek god.
Yeah, no joke, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, man, the Panthers are exciting, man. They're gonna be fun to watch next year.
Yeah. No, I think they're going to be, obviously, ahead of the NFC South. I think they've basically got that on lockdown for the most part.
Yeah.
Now, that's also going to depend on the Saints. Listen, Tyler Shuck had a really good year this year. Hang tight, because I'm just telling you, they are building something there brick by brick there in New Orleans. And I say this because, listen, I love the ETN signing. You've got an older, aging Alvin Kamara. Tyler Shuck showed out there in the second half of the season. The more games he played, the better he played. I really, really like what they're doing there. Now, I will say at the same time, Tampa Bay they're still relevant. Bucky Irving, Godwin, Buka, Baker. They're going to add key pieces. I know. Listen, I'm not oblivious to what's going on, but I'm just telling you, these two teams here are man, they're building something, and I like it because right now,
But let's not forget that New Orleans let the heart of that defense walk away.
not necessarily. He's not
Demario
signed anywhere
Davis.
yet.
Demario
Oh, I
Davis
thought you were
did.
talking about Cam Jordan. Listen, Demario Davis,
I love
at
Demario
37
Davis.
years old, is absolutely still one of the
He's
better
still playing at a
linebackers in
high
the NFL.
level. He's the leader of that defense, and I was surprised that he left, honestly. But to let him
Yeah.
go, they lost Taylor. They let Taylor go. I mean, those are some key pieces on defense that you're going to have to replace, and on a defense that wasn't necessarily all that great anyway. But
I'll tell you.
I just didn't love
What's that?
letting Demario Davis. I just didn't love letting Demario Davis sign elsewhere. I didn't love the ETN trade or signing. So I didn't think they got much better with any of those moves.
Really?
I just don't feel like it. I mean, yeah, ETN's an upgrade over Kamara, but what your net gain is I don't think that's going to push the needle any farther down the road from where you were.
Well, it's one of those things for me. Like when I'm looking at what Kellen Moore and New Orleans is doing, man, I'm liking it because again, like I said, they're not. I mean, they're not just going out and signing guys, right? I mean, yes, they are. They did let a couple guys walk, and they are replacing them with others as well. But especially on the offensive side of the ball, he stuck to what he knows, and so if you're going to replace Kamara with somebody, who are you going to replace him with? You're going to get somebody who's a similar type of player, and you're going to replace him with somebody who is going to offer the same stuff and do the same things out of the offense, and that's kind of what what they do.
Yeah,
or what they did.
No, I get it. I mean, I get it. I love ETN. I think I've had him in fantasy for 3 years now, but I don't know. I just wasn't a fan. I think that division is still the Buccaneers to lose. I think the Falcons are a long way from home. I said Buccaneers to lose. Panthers might be the favorite now. But anyways, I think it'd be Panthers or Buccaneers.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm one that looks at that division and the Falcons, they're making moves and they're doing some good things, but
God, they signed a bunch.
What's that?
I said I feel like they signed a bunch.
Yeah, I mean, you go now. I mean, you go sign Tua. Hey, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you go sign. I mean, that's a piece you need, and so when I'm looking at that, I'm going, okay, that's a huge ad, no big deal. But here's something that we haven't even touched on, and I open up this screen because I forgot to do something, but how do you let this guy leave?
Well, you just won a Super Bowl. I think they have to sell the team, right? The way I understand it, they have to sell the team. You have Charbonnet. He's going to bring big. I mean, Walker brought some big money. You can't justify it. You can't justify letting him leave. but you have to say, okay, I get it. Like,
how do you not franchise tag this guy? Your other running back just tore his ACL at the end of the season.
yeah, he'll probably miss some. He'll probably miss a few games.
He's going to miss almost half the season, probably the first half, because he's going to start on the PUP list.
Yeah. So he'll miss for 6 weeks or so.
First 6, at least, at the minimum, the first 6 weeks. So how do you not sign this guy? Franchise tag. I mean, even if you don't plan on re-signing him, play the game. Tag him. Keep him for another year. Give yourself time
to come up with a replacement. What's the franchise money for a running back?
I haven't looked, but I mean, it's probably close to what he's getting paid by Kansas City. If I were to guess, probably 12 to 15 million.
Yeah. So
it's going to be on the lighter end of that, though.
For Kansas City, I mean, what a win. I hate to say it, but they have lacked in the run game for a few years now. And now the question is, can he be that guy? Can he be the guy all year long?
Walker, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I think he looked like a dog. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I hate it. Like, I look at it and I'm like, oh, the rich get richer. Like, the Chiefs had a bad year, and then you look at, man, you throw Kenneth Walker back in. Now the Chiefs still got some holes. They need to sign a receiver, or they need to figure out what they're doing. But I thought, man, this has been the question of the Chiefs offense for a while.
Here's the funny part about it is, I work with a guy here that's a big time Chief fan, and a couple days before leading up to free agency, we were talking and potential landing spots, who's doing what, and who's going to sign who, and there's just obviously all these questions, right? We were talking about free agents, and he was obviously, man, I'd really like to go sign an ETN or go sign somebody like that, maybe get a running back that can come in and be good for us. And we're talking about Kenneth Walker, and he's like, there's just no way that anybody is going to give him anywhere near $15 million a year. That just isn't going to happen, and he's telling me that, obviously, Charbonnet's been there, so he hasn't been the guy, and nobody knows if he can be the guy. Nobody's going to give him $15 million. And I just thought it was kind of ironic that the one team that gave him dang near $15 million a year, obviously if everything plays out, is the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah. Which, like I said, I mean, congrats to them and good job, going out and getting your guy. And like you said, the rich get richer. But, it's one of those things where they absolutely got their guy right here. They went out and they spent all kinds of money. I say all kinds. I mean, they spent a lot of money on bringing him in. But they got what they needed on offense.
Yeah.
Then they turn around to be able to get. Obviously, today Travis Kelce announced he's coming back.
Yeah.
Kansas City Chiefs are a player or two away on the defensive side of things to being right back in the hunt.
Yeah. I saw a deal there. I had to laugh and said, they had to spend all this money and sign Kenneth Walker so that he can get Kareem Hunt to the 1 yard line.
That is pretty funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was very, I guess you could say, excited, very happy, I guess, that Dallas went ahead and bit the bullet and re-signed Javonte Williams when they did, or because They got him for 3
Oh
years,
yeah,
$24 million. They got him for $8 million a year, and the guy just rushed for 1,200 yards last year.
yeah. No, that was a great move.
Smart on their end,
Yeah,
going out and signing these guys signing him because, like I said, I mean that's a huge win.
yeah, yeah. And they don't do much of that.
Hey, listen, that is the one smart thing that we've done so far. In
What? Well, you tagged Pickens.
Well, I mean, obviously that's a given. You're not letting him go anywhere. Pickens is staying. But everything else has been absolute. Just I have no idea. And
Yeah,
I hate to say this because it's one of those deals where obviously as a Cowboys fan, I want I want to win and I want a Super Bowl and I want this, I want a little bit of everything. But when I'm looking at the Dallas Cowboys, I'm going to touch base on this real quick. Since we're in it and we're kind of talking about it. But
yeah,
my thing is obviously coming into free agency, the one thing that they talked about Dallas needing, I say the one thing, the multiple things, but on one side of the ball is you have to shore up your defense by adding an elite pass rusher, a linebacker. You got to shore up the safety room and figure out your corners. Okay. Well, some of that, having 2 first-round draft picks, can be done in the first round. That's easy. But you have to hit on your 2 first-round picks. You have to know at 12 that if you've got 3 guys that are must gets at 12, if they're available, you got to know that if all 3 of those guys are gone, hey, don't be scared to trade down and pick up a couple extra draft picks because that's the smartest thing. But coming in, obviously we were hot and heavy in Max Crosby. We were, kind of dabbling there with the Hendrickson. And we backed out on both. But before free agency ever started, we traded a 4th round pick for Rashawn Gary for the Packers. They kind of got kicked in the dome for making that move, but I'm looking at it as it's a safe move. It's a smart move. Rashawn Gary is good against the run. He's not going to get you a lot of sacks, but for the scheme that we're going to, the 3-4 defense that we're going to be going to, he fits well in the scheme, and he's a perfect fit for what we're trying to do. Not only that, but he is familiar with our new defensive coordinator, Christian Parker. Parker was at Green Bay and for 2 years and had him there. So they're very familiar. So it's a smart move because he's got 2 years left on his contract, but no guaranteed money left. So after this year, we could cut him, and it's a 1-year rental. We give up a 4th round pick for a 1-year rental on a guy that he's going to help the young guys, and he could be a good piece. And then who knows, if he overachieves and does well, we bring him back for that 2nd year. And okay, yeah, so what? It's not going to hurt us. But what Dallas has done, not only with their defensive coordinator hire, but they also went and hired, individual outside linebacker coach, inside linebacker coach. They went and hired all these guys, but they hired one guy who hasn't been an NFL coach or an NFL assistant, but he has been a trainer for Rashawn Gary, for Max Crosby, for all these top defensive ends and pass rushers. He's been their trainer. He's been the one, getting them to the next level. So we hired this guy, which is good because, we've got this guy that trains all these pass rushers across the NFL. Now he's on our coaching staff. Well, guess what? He's not coaching them or training them no more. He's coaching our guys. And so, guys like Devin Ezeraku and guys that are already there in the building are going to benefit from it, but the ones we draft and everybody else, but they're going to benefit as well. But we don't get a pass rusher. We miss out on Henderson. We miss out on Crosby. We're in the running and we dive deep into Nakobe Dean and we miss out on Nakobe Dean. We go and we dive deep into Devin Lloyd, or a little bit into Devin Lloyd, but we're a little far off from what he wants, so we don't really go into that 100%, which doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, he was like he was all pro linebacker this year, and he's 26, 27 years old. You say you're ready to bust the budget and break the bank. Hey, that's the type of player you bust a budget and break the bank on. We didn't do that. The one thing that I'm happy that we've done, we went and shored up the safety position. Now, not a lot of people know, any of the two that we got. PJ Locke, he was a safety with Denver this year, who's good against a run, decent against a pass. That's all fine and dandy, but it's Jalen Thompson at Arizona, and he's a 5-year veteran who has been an NFL starter every year of his NFL career. He can play, safety. He can drop over into the nickel. He can play in the nickel position. He can play against a run and play against a pass. And that's something that we've not had. Donovan Wilson's going to be gone, thankfully. He was a liability in the passing game. We still have Malik Hooker. He's not terrible, but he's not great in the passing game either. But I think adding those two safeties are big gets. And we created some cap space. Now, I wasn't a big fan of trading Solomon Thomas today because, he's a veteran in the room with a bunch of young guys. And, when he played for us this year, he was very productive. But we shipped him to Tennessee. We sent Solomon Thomas in a 7th-round pick to Tennessee for a 7th-round pick. We move up a couple spots in the 7th round. Okay, cool. I don't know what that's going to do for us other than it did free up, I believe, right at $4 million or $3 million. And then we traded away Osa Odigizua just a year after signing him to a big 4-year, $80 million contract. I hate it because Osa was one of my favorite players, my favorite defensive players on the team. Big, strong, he's fast. And
solid.
He's very productive.
He's always on the field.
But what I'm saying is, I guess the new defensive staff didn't see him as a fit in our new scheme, which, okay, that's been a big part of Dallas's problem is they just sign these guys just because they can play a position, but they never fit the scheme. They didn't fit what the defensive coordinator was doing. And like last year, I watched Matt Eberflus all year long continue to put Kenneth Murray on the field, and the dude was horrible, but he kept putting him on the field. We draft Shamar James out of Florida, who when he played, he was a rookie last year, but the dude was all over the field, and he can tackle. He can play the run. Not great in the pass, but he can play the run. But he was less of a liability when he was on the field than Kenneth Murray was. But it didn't matter because we just play these guys because, well, they are who they are. And that's something Dallas has always done. And it's looking like Dallas is finally maybe have some common sense on the defensive side of things. Jerry has I won't say they're moving different. Jerry and Steven, they're moving different, but when was the last time you ever saw a Dallas Cowboy press conference that Jerry Jones wasn't sitting up at the table of the booth?
Yeah.
When we announced a new defensive coordinator, Jerry Jones wasn't even there. It was Shoddy and Christian Parker. So, they're starting to do, a little bit different things, but, it's one of those where I'll believe it when I see it.
Still a long ways
at
from
the end of the
home.
day.
Still a long ways from home.
Whoa, hey. I think
Yeah.
you're being a little too harsh. So now the one thing, obviously, we're gonna wrap it up here pretty soon. I mean, we're a little over an hour tonight. I didn't think that we'd go too far. We're almost an hour and a half actually. So I mean, we've gone quite a bit longer than what I thought we would do. Just kind of wanted to touch base over the last couple days and kind of get some things out there and see what people are thinking. But if you were to set back the last 3 days and look at some of the free agent signings and the moves that were made, what would you say? Let's start at this. What would you say is the most surprising signing, or maybe the most surprising contract to you right now?
The most surprising?
Yeah, like maybe, I didn't see that guy going to that team, or holy moly, I thought this guy was going to get a good deal, but I didn't think he was going to get the contract that he got. What what most surprised you so far about the free agency?
Yeah, I would have first went with the Panthers signings we talked about, but Linderbaum to me was one that I didn't see him leaving, but then to leave and get, I mean, I thought he got paid. That bro got $81 million
Over 3 years. Yeah, you're
as a
talking
center.
20, was it 27 million? 27
Yeah,
million,
$27 million, and I thought just that to me meant that the Raiders were, like I said, that just surprised me because one is the money for a center coming from Baltimore, and it just showed the commitment the Raiders have to fixing what's going on over there, and made me think maybe for the first time in many years, I had a thought that maybe the Raiders know what they're doing.
Yeah, they've got a little shining glimmer of hope.
That would probably be mine.
Yeah, no, that to me, and maybe it was just the number, the 3 years, 81 million. I figured he'd get a 3 or 4 year deal, but I didn't think it was going to be 81 million. I would say my most surprising signing / contract, but for me, is Malik Willis. The guy has started, I think, a handful of games. He started like 6 games in his career, and he goes and signs a 3-year, $67.5 million contract with Miami. Now, and that's one of the things I was having a conversation with Kenneth, because I don't know if you know, but Kenneth is a big time Miami Dolphin fan, and so he hated to see Tua go, but I mean, he knew it was time. But my thing is when I was kind of looking at the stats and looking at everything that Willis had done, it was kind of it was impressive to me, because the few games that he played last year, I mean, the kid put up some stats, but only having a handful of starts in his career made me question some things, because it's one of those where if I'm going to sign a quarterback to $67.5 million, I want some substance behind, what I'm fixing to do. I want proof in the pudding. I want to know that this guy's going to be able to carry my franchise. So for me, I would say my most surprising contract right now would be that one. Now, on the flip side, what would be your sneaky signing? What signing that kind of maybe isn't getting the recognition that it should, or maybe there's a player that signed somewhere that might be on the verge of having a breakout season.
Okay, so the one I give you did not switch teams. And I think for the talent he has, and I love him. Listen, I picked him up in fantasy last year, and he had a couple big games for me. And this year, I thought when he got traded mid-season this year, I thought it was going to be huge for him. And towards the later in the year, they started using him different ways, and actually was really, really big piece in the playoffs for this team. But I love Rashid Shaheed.
Yep.
Okay. I think he was 3 years. I want to say it was at $18 million a year. I can't remember what the contract was. I was trying to find it real quick.
I can pull it
But
up.
for what wide receiver? Yeah, 3 for 51.
Yep.
So 17 million a year. And with what receivers are bringing right now and the athletic ability he has on the field, and then obviously the threat and kick returning and punt returning, I think he's huge. But I thought for 17 million a year, Rashid Shaheed is a man. I think he's close, man, to being that solid number two guy. But I love Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a smart move on Seattle's part in getting him locked up. That is a guy that, if you would have lost Walker, obviously they lost Kobe Bryant, Tariq Woolen. I mean, they lost some dudes on the defensive side of the ball, and even the offense. But my thing is, you can't lose it all. And Rashid Shaheed, over the last 3 or 4 years, he leads the NFL in 40+ yard touchdowns. The guy can take the roof off of it and stretch the field, which helps the run game. But it was smart for Seattle to get him locked up for sure. Mine is
100%.
Oh no, for sure. So my sneaky signing, I say sneaky signing. It's one guy that last year, in the preseason when Ben and Mosby and I kicked this thing off, I talked about probably one of the most underrated players on this team at that position. And when I mentioned his name, I kind of got like, what? The reaction was a little different. This guy's crazy. But when as the season went on, I kind of got a little props, throughout in a couple of videos, because the guy just continued to perform, and anytime that he was out there, he put up some numbers, and his new team just signed probably what could be the number one receiver for a while, and that's Romeo Doubs. Romeo Doubs for the last couple of years has been one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL. He's been a solid, I say a 3 and 4 receiver, because they kept playing, Wicks and Jaden Reed, and they hung on to the Christian Watson deal, and that guy can't stay healthy. But I mean, the guy just kept getting bounced around, and he did deal with some injuries and whatnot, with concussions. Obviously, that's why he's wearing that cap on the field over his helmet. But man, Romeo Doubs is just, for me, he's just consistent. And he is a guy that I think, pairing him with Drake May, and then you've got Kyle Williams is who they drafted last year. They've got some young receivers there in New Orleans, New England. And I corrected myself. But they got some young guys there in New England that, you pair him with Drake May, and you may go draft or sign another wide receiver. I'm sure they're going to do, they've got some more moves to make, but man, that could be a dangerous offense. I mean, obviously they overachieved a little bit this year, as some would say. getting into the Super Bowl, but they cut Stephon Diggs, which
good.
I get it. It's
Distraction and
well, I mean, and they said it was more so the money for anything else, but he wasn't really that big of a
they knew boating
distraction.
season was around the corner.
What's that?
They knew boating season was around the corner.
Yeah, no joke, right? But I mean,
Yeah.
they praised him for the veteran that he was in the locker room and on the field and the leader and everything. I hate it for him because I do love Stephon Diggs. I think he brings a lot to the table in that wide receiver room and on the field.
Yeah.
The guy's
and on the mirror. I mean,
hey, what he does off the field and in his home or wherever else
in the boat.
Yeah. Hey, who knows? He could be living out there. I don't know, but
no, I get it. I'm interested to see where he signs, but no, I love Romeo Doubs, and the Niners were linked to Romeo Doubs as well, and he was one I was kind of rooting for, but yeah, no, I think that's a great signing, and I think that's a perfect fit for him, and he's going to get a shot to be that probably a real number 2 guy.
Yeah,
I think he can have a shot to do that, and so I'm excited to see what he does
for sure. I'll tell you what, though, if you were to, because I know we touched a little bit on the Raiders, and a lot of it on the Raiders for the most part in that shindig. But if I were to go out and say that there's one team that went out and improved the most this offseason so far, man, I'd have to kind of point my finger right now to Tennessee. They've gone out and they've made some big signings. Obviously, getting Wan'Dale Robinson, not a big name guy, but obviously he's brought over to Tennessee because his offensive coordinator obviously was the head coach there for the last couple of years. They go and they sign John Franklin Myers for the defensive lineman, put him next to Jeffrey Simmons. Now, that's a huge get, just for the D line. But then you talk about guys like we mentioned earlier, Alontae Taylor. New Orleans letting him go, and again, Brian Daboll getting another one of his guys, and in Daniel Bellinger at tight end, who's sneaky good. I think Tennessee, with having Cam Ward and some of the picks that they've gotten the last couple of years, they're set up to potentially, win. Obviously, they're going to win more games than they did this past year, but put themselves in a position to get close to finishing 500 or better. Obviously, the growth of Cam Ward's going to have to be,
exponential,
much improved. But if you go out, and I mentioned it earlier, now that you've attacked the defensive side of the ball, here, you could almost go out at the 4th pick and draft a guy like Jeremiah Love to put with Ward and some of these offensive players that you're bringing in, to kind of put some pieces together. Because obviously you got Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard. Neither one of them are a true number 1 back.
Yeah.
Right? Dallas Cowboy, Tony Pollard. But you could almost sacrifice, and I say sacrifice because up until the last couple of days, it was you would almost bet money that Tennessee would be drafting defense in the 1st round. But now you've gone out and spent
I think they might get Love, and
yeah. You can afford to. Like I said, you shore up your defensive front with Franklin Myers. You got Alontae Taylor and another one, Cordell Flott, a cornerback from the Giants. He was productive on the field. He had some good showings out there on the field for the Giants when he got to play. They've went out and they've attacked certain positions. Obviously, they knew where they had to get better at, and they went and got it. So, they go out and spend some money. I think that you could be looking at a 500 or better team next year.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. We'll leave it here, and then we'll wrap this thing up. I know we keep saying that, but
Absolutely, yeah.
a team that is being overlooked in terms of improvement. Okay, and Aaron Glenn has his handprints all over the Jets free agency. Okay,
Yes, he
you go
does.
out and you go out and you trade for Fitzpatrick. This dude's a baller. I mean, I love it. Minka Fitzpatrick's a baller. You're able to franchise Brees Hall. You retain Briggs and Ball, but then you go and you sign Joseph Asaya, Demario Davis, who we talked about earlier. I don't care how old he is. The guy is just
Dude's a tackle
consistent,
machine.
man. He
Man.
is a leader. He's a leader on defense. You sign defense tackle, edge rusher. I mean, I won't bore you with all the names. A safety, a corner.
Ingabare.
I mean,
from Green Bay.
Yeah, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 defensive guys. He signed 7 defensive guys in the free agency, plus trade for Minka Fitzpatrick. And everybody knows what he did in Detroit with that defense. And last year, that defense was atrocious. And I mean, the team as a whole was atrocious, but his fingerprints, because he wore that, he took it on the chin all year last year, took the blame.
Absolutely.
And you just look at it this year, and it's almost like he said, hey, guys, if I'm going to go down, I've said it before when we work together, like, if I'm going to lose, I'm going to lose my way.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail my way. And this is what he's done. And man, I love what he's done with this team. I think they're still a ways away, but I think he took some steps in this free agency, put some veteran leadership on the field with Fitzpatrick and Davis. And so I'm excited to see what they can do, and to see if that breeds the improvement that they're looking for. But I think they've had a great – I mean, you're talking about 2 of the worst teams in football last year, the Titans and the Jets. And I think they both went out in the free agency and said, hey, we're not going to stay in the cellar much longer.
Right. No, I agree. Going out and trading for Minka, it was a smart move for on his part, because you could pair him up with Malachi Moore back there at the safety position.
Yep.
Obviously, Malachi, he had a good year as a rookie. You get somebody like Minka that's a seasoned veteran that has been at top of the game for quite some time, and he's still young. He's still 28, 29 years old. So
29, I think. Yeah,
he's still got a couple years left in him. And then, you go and like you said, you go and sign the Demario Davis and the Kingsley Ingabare and Joseph Asaya. The one guy that's not really getting notarized or brought up much, and that's Nahshon Wright.
Nahshon Wright.
Nahshon Wright had a good season there in Chicago. Obviously Dallas drafted him a few years back, and they always raved about his length and his size. I mean, he's a big-bodied corner, but he never really got to put it together because he was always hurt in Dallas. And I think this year was his first full year, and without any major injuries. And the guy performed. I think he had 5 interceptions on the year, which is solid. So you bring a guy like Nahshon Wright in to help shore up your corner position. And then, what are they going to do in the draft? They've got tons of draft capital. They're going to attack the defense.
Tons.
They're going to attack the offense because, one thing that's not mentioned is they got their starting quarterback for this year.
Yep. There's no question you're not going into camp with the Geno Smith. Listen, Geno Smith did not have a good year with Oakland, but Oakland did not have a good year with Geno, and they weren't ready.
No, but and Geno didn't have a number 1 receiver to throw to. I mean, he's got Garrett Wilson over there in New York. Obviously, as we know, New York's got some young receivers that can possibly make some noise. We've got a buddy of ours who his son is spent all year on the practice squad and actually got some playing time there in the last week of the year. And Q actually, he made his first NFL catch for a first down and then caught a 2-point conversion. So, you got guys there that, they're young. You've got some talent. And the crazy part about it is like I said, they've got tons of draft capital, and they've got key guys in key places and can only go up from here. So I'm excited, man. I'm ready. We've got, I don't know, was it 40 something days until the draft? I think the April 26th or 20 something is day one of the NFL draft. So we've still got some free agency going on. Still got some pretty good names left out there on the market right now that hadn't been signed yet. So we'll just kind of see who does what in the next coming in the next week or so. And I'm excited. It's been fun. This is one of my favorite times, in the off season, baseball off season or the NFL off season. Those are two of my favorite times because I get to watch and see who gets traded or who gets signed, who does what. How are my teams going to mess up and not get any better?
And not get any of the free agents
you've seen it all. They say, "Here, hold my beer," type thing. So, listen, guys. We're hoping that I say we. Us, the experts, me, Ben, and Mosby. We're hoping here within a week or two, everybody can get back together. He's been a little busy with his little ones, and spring break's coming up, and he's got a full schedule and a lot on his plate, and then of course Mosby's the same. So that might be a couple weeks of either me hopping on with my brother here, Mr. Unathletic, or I've talked about even maybe getting my son or my nephew, try to get them in here and dabble around a little bit. Can't help but get some of the youth involved and see what they think. But it's one of those things where Mosby might even get on with me or somebody else until we can get back on a regular schedule. We're just going to keep trying to push this content, but we appreciate it, everybody who watches and joins and interacts. And Justin, as always, I do appreciate you coming on with me last minute.
Yeah.
It was fun. I hope everybody enjoyed the show, and we'll catch you next time.
I go to sleep.